Hey everybody. Okay, so I just got back from getting a COVID test. So I just went more as a preventative measure to get myself tested before, seeing anybody in person outside of my home. So while I was there, I saw some kids there getting tested and I saw some families there. So I thought I would just pop on and share some tips for helping to prepare children to be tested, just in case you need to get tested as a family or you would like your children to be tested. I just wanted to offer a couple of tips that might help make that process a little bit easier for kids. So my first tip is to prepare kids ahead of time. So kids of any age or teenagers. So often, especially for kids who maybe worry a little bit more than other kids or who might be feeling pretty nervous about it, general rule is the more information, the better. So the more information we can give kids about what will happen, what it will feel like, what it will look like, how long it might take, anything we can give them to help them to know what to expect can be really helpful. Especially for kids who do worry a little bit more, often their minds might just fill in the blank. So if they're not sure what to expect, their minds might just be expecting the worst possible case scenario or picturing this really, really horrible, scary, painful thing. So the more information we can give, the better. So if you've maybe been for a test yourself, or maybe you can talk to somebody who has been for a test to know a little bit more about what that was like. I got tested in Ottawa at a busy center, so it took me about 2.5 hours. I was waiting. Now, I did see families going through much quicker, not necessarily waiting in the full line. So people who were with children did seem to get pushed through a little bit more quickly. But one thing is that you can prepare to be waiting, so you might want to prepare kids for that. Another thing I noticed was that there's lots of doctors and nurses and staff there who are in a full gown, wearing gloves, wearing a mask, and wearing a visor. Many of them also have their hair covered. So this is something that can feel a bit scary for kids, seeing that for the first time. So you might want to prepare kids and know what people are going to look like there and why they're wearing that they're wearing that to keep themselves healthy and keep themselves safe and keep you safe. I also saw people sanitizing things. So in between, time sitting on a chair, before someone else would come sit on that chair, it would get wiped down by a staff member there. So you might want to prepare kids for that and help explain that they're going to be wiping down all the surfaces to make sure that we don't get any germs from people who sat there before us. And we can expect to be waiting in line. It kind of for me went through like little checkpoints. It actually felt quite a bit like going through the airport. So that could be a way to explain it as well, as we kind of waited in line and then they went through one area where we sat down and they asked me some questions. So you might prepare kids for that too, that we might sit down. Someone might ask us some questions about how we're feeling today. And then we go to another area to wait. They might ask us a couple more questions. And then for the center that I was at, we took a number and we waited for a number to be called. Again, the kids were going through much faster, so they may or may not have been getting a number. They might have just been waiting for the next spot to open up. And then when for the actual test, we went through a kind of a little curtained area, so it was private. And I did see parents going in with their kids and siblings going in together. Again, I can't guarantee that anywhere else aside from the experience that I had today. But I did see families sticking together, being able to sit together and being able to go in together. The test for me was a swab that looked like a long Q-tip that went down my throat and then into each nostril. It was a bit painful for a couple of seconds and a bit uncomfortable, but then it didn't hurt at all right after, and now I feel fine. So again, I can't guarantee what that experience might be like for somebody else or for a child, but I'm just sharing my own information in case you haven't been at all or you don't know anybody who's been. It might be helpful to be able to share some details about what you might be able to expect, so kids have a little bit more information to go on. So that's the first thing is giving as much information as possible, preparing them for what they might see and what it might be like, and also preparing them for the fact that they might have to sit and wait for a little bit. So we might prepare with some activities. And I'm not sure, I didn't see any kids holding things like stuffed animals or fidgets, especially for kids who do need to fidget, who might have a harder time sitting still and waiting, we might want to try to bring some fidgets. If they're not able to hold on to those or to have those with them, if you're getting direction from the staff that they need to put those away for any reason, then maybe we might want to come up with a couple of backup games that don't require anything, like maybe I Spy or 20 questions or Would You Rather, kind of coming up with some fun little entertaining activities to keep kids a bit occupied while they're waiting. The other piece that we might want to prepare kids for are the rules there. So it might be a little bit different from how we're used to going out, where we might be able to have more space between us. We might be able to walk up and talk to other people, especially if really social kids or really young kids. So we might want to just help prepare kids ahead of time that the rules here are that you stay right beside mommy, or you go and you sit exactly where someone tells you to sit, and we have to stay in that area. And we can't go up and talk to other people. We can't touch other people, and we can't be wandering around. So you need to stay right where we need to be. So that can be a kind of a challenging one for kids. So we definitely want to set them up for success by explaining that before they go, even if they maybe see somebody that they know across the room. So you might want to prepare them for that. You might see Uncle Dave who's working at this assessment center, or you might see a friend from school there. If you see somebody we still have to stay exactly where we're meant to be in our spot, but we can wave to them, or, if they're another person that's waiting, maybe we can call them on the phone so we can talk to them and wave to them from afar, but just preparing them for anything that might come up that's a bit unusual for them, or that they might not be able to react in the way that they want to. So another piece that I saw is I did see kids also wearing masks, and everybody there was wearing masks. So that's something else that we might want to prepare kids for. If they've never worn a mask before, it might be something that you might want to practice at home a little bit, especially if they're a little bit more sensitive or they have some sensory sensitivities, or that might be a bit difficult for them if they're, worried around breathing or things like that. If there's an opportunity to practice wearing a mask at home first before going to the center, I think that could help prepare kids for having to wear a mask, for seeing you in a mask, and for seeing other people in a mask. I did notice when I was there, even people who came with their own masks, they were asked to switch them out for the mask that the staff gave them. So we can prepare for that too, that even if they have their own special mask, they might actually have to put on a mask that's given to them, and not the maybe soft material that they're used to. It might just be more of a medical mask. So just preparing as much as we can, practicing at home as much as we can, and just letting them know any information that we do have that might help them to feel a little bit more prepared, and answering any questions that we can, and saying, I don't know, if we don't know the answer to that question. That's completely fine too. The other piece is we want to avoid giving any kind of false reassurance. So this is something that might make kids feel scared or uncertain. I was feeling a bit uncertain when I was going. I didn't know what it was going to be like. So often when kids are feeling nervous or scared, we jump to saying things like, you don't have anything to be scared about, or it's not going to hurt, it's going to be fine. So we just want to make sure that we're not kind of discounting anything that kids are sharing that they're feeling. So rather than saying, no, sweetie, you don't need to feel scared, we might try saying something like, I hear you're feeling really nervous about this. It's okay to feel scared. Is there anything that we can do to help you to feel better while we're doing this? Because the other thing is that just because we're scared doesn't mean that we don't have to do it. If there's a reason that we're going for this test, we might have to do it even if we are feeling scared. So we might just want to validate that feeling, saying, I see that you're feeling scared, you're feeling nervous about this. Do you have any questions for me about what it might be like? Is there anything that maybe we can bring with us, or anything that we can do while you're getting the test to help make you feel a little bit less scared? You might want to squeeze your hand or hold on to something special when it's happening. They might want to know that you're going to be able to be there with them. So those pieces can be really helpful. But we just want to make sure that we're not telling them not to be scared, because that might make them feel a little bit, that can make us feel, a little bit like we shouldn't be feeling scared, but we are. So how come I'm feeling scared and nobody else is? So we just want to let them know it's okay to feel scared. We got you. We're going to get through this together, even though it's a scary thing. The other thing is we want to try to avoid offering false reassurance about what the experience might be like if we're not sure. So if you haven't been for a test, or you just have no idea what to expect, you're not sure if it's going to be painful, we don't want to offer that false reassurance, because then it can be quite shocking and jarring if, say, we said, we won't have to wait, we're going to walk right up, it's going to take 5 minutes, and then we're going to, go to a drive-through and we're going to be great. Then if the experience isn't like that, it might be really hard for kids to manage that in the moment. The other thing is around the pain. I think we always want to say, it's not going to be painful. It's not going to hurt at all. Don't worry. Just take a deep breath. But we don't know that, right? It was a bit painful for me. It didn't last very long, but it was a bit painful. It was a bit uncomfortable. So you might want to share that with kids that it might hurt a little bit. It might be like a bit of a pinch or a bit of discomfort. I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to be right here with you. We're just going to take 10 deep breaths and then it's going to be done. So we're letting them know what to expect without making it sound like it's going to be different from what we know it could be like, and without discounting their feelings, but still offering some reassurance through letting them know what we do know and what we can help them out with. So the other piece that I wanted to mention is that in the assessment center that I was in, it was in a hockey arena, and it was quite loud in there. So it wasn't necessarily that there was, so many people talking, because there was a lot of people who were waiting who weren't talking, but because of the staff that were talking and just the noise kind of reverberating in the space, I did find it quite loud. So if you do have kids who are have more of an auditory sensitivity, or who might get overwhelmed in loud or crowded spaces, again, it's not necessarily crowded because everybody's keeping their social distance, but it's a room with a lot of people in it. And it's a room that does feel quite loud. So we might want to do something like bringing headphones with music in it if they're able to use that there, or if they do have something like noise canceling headphones or earmuffs that they like to use, or earplugs that they like to use in louder spaces, that can be helpful as well. Okay, so I think those are all of the things that I wanted to talk about today. So we're basically trying to just give as much information ahead of time and prepare as much as we can ahead of time. To let kids know what to expect, preparing for things like having to wait for a while, having to stay in one spot or stay right next to the adult that they're with, not being able to run up and talk to people if they want to. It might be loud. Did I already say that one in this little recap? And that they might have to wear a mask and things like that. The other piece is that, this is something that isn't the most fun, even if it's, not necessarily painful, doesn't necessarily take a lot of time. It's not the most fun outing. So sometimes if you do have a kid or a teen who's very reluctant to go and is having a really hard time being able to go, sometimes offering a bit of an incentive afterwards can be helpful, just to kind of get that motivation and to help them to know that you see that they've done something hard and we're celebrating that they were able to do it. So something like, a special little activity, or just something that feels a little bit special to them, and letting them know that that special thing is going to happen right after we go and we finish our test. So that's it for today. Let me know in the comments below if you have been with kids, and if you have any other tips or suggestions for other parents who might be taking kids. Put those in the comments below so we can all help each other out and make this as easy as we can for kiddos. All right, guys, have an awesome day.